Another huge police brutality payout in Colorado, paid by insurance again. It turns out those insurance companies may be a force for police reform. Heidi Ganahl calls Governor Polis's attack on her abortion record a lie, which is weird because what he said is true, though it needs context. Let's tackle 2 tax questions on your statewide ballot. And the coming clock change hits harder when you're on the clock.
It means an extra hour of work, which can be a very long night.
Showing some appreciation for those preparing for a difficult night on Next. It's an enormous police brutality settlement for a small city. Idaho Springs will pay out nearly 6 times its $1.2 million police budget, nearly 6 times the whole police budget, for what officers did to a man named Michael Clark. He was tased without warning in 2020. It's led to medical problems he still has today. The settlement, like so many, will be paid out of insurance. Our Steve Stager shows us how insurers are now involved in holding law enforcement accountable.
The amounts are big. $3 million to the family of a man shot in the back and killed by Colorado Springs police officers. Another $3 million to a woman with dementia tackled to the ground by a Loveland officer. $7 million to the man tased by Idaho Springs police. Does it seem like these settlements are getting bigger and bigger?
It is very hard to measure this beyond looking anecdotally at large settlements that get coverage because there's very little public information about settlements and judgments in these cases.
Joanna Schwartz is a law professor at UCLA who has researched police settlements around the country. She says public sentiment after the murder of George Floyd by a Minneapolis police officer seems to be pushing more governments to negotiate larger settlements, especially when they're represented by an insurance company.
Change can come along with it. It is not as simple and direct as you might expect. The check isn't written and then change automatically occurs.
Schwartz says even though insurance settlements may not seem to have a lot of teeth, they actually can make decent change within a department.
Insurance companies have the ability to say, we don't want to cover you anymore, and can make that decision apart from the kinds of political pressures that you could imagine would be in play if it was the city council making that kind of decision.
She says oftentimes risk analysts might ask a department to change policy or implement training, maybe even make leadership changes after paying out a settlement.
I do think that insurance companies who really are looking at the bottom line, who aren't afraid to make demands, can be the best avenue to try to get some of these changes implemented.
Schwartz says her research has also found that in these settlements, police departments rarely ever pay the cost. If it's not paid for by an insurance company, it usually comes out of the city's general fund. And that's why she says insurance companies have more power here because they can negotiate change out of police departments. Where a city council, you go to them and...
Oh, it's all politics.
Yeah, because the city council says they want change, and then they have to answer to the voters, where the insurance company doesn't have to answer to anybody.
Yeah, so I look at the settlements paid out, like Denver police, one after another, after another, after another. If I was crashing my car 3 times a year, I would expect to pay a lot for insurance. Is this eventually getting passed on to the cities, then get passed on to taxpayers?
Yeah, I talked to some experts in insurance today, and they tell me that municipalities are seeing their premiums start to kind of skyrocket because of so much liability that's out there now and the way that these settlements are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So that's why it's important for the insurance companies to step in and say, okay, make these changes and maybe we won't make your premiums as high.
It's interesting, though, that a data-driven approach brought from the insurance company where it's like, we've studied the numbers, quit doing these 3 things and we'll be in better shape, could fall afresh on new ears, you know?
You think about it. It's all done behind closed doors, too.
All right. Thank you, Steve. Colorado House Minority Leader Hugh McKean, who died of a heart attack over the weekend, is going to lie in state at the Capitol just after Election Day. Mourners will file into the rotunda next Thursday to pay their respects to McKean, who's the first leader to lie in state since former Lieutenant Governor Joe Rogers in 2013. We expect several state leaders to speak that day, including Governor Jared Polis, former Governor Bill Owens, House Speaker Alec Garnett, and a newly elected Republican House minority leaders. Republicans will meet earlier in the day on Thursday to select McKean's replacement. For years, he had successfully fended off attempts from the far right of his party to replace him in that job. His seat at the Capitol will be filled by a Republican vacancy committee. Our truth tests focus on political ads on television, but candidates' messages to voters take many forms. Democratic Governor Jared Polis is out with something online, saying that his Republican opponent Heidi Ganahl has vowed to rip up Colorado's law that provides a right to abortion and contraception. That's true, though it would be harder for Ganahl to accomplish her goal than either she or the governor are suggesting.
Democratic Governor Jared Polis says his Republican challenger Heidi Ganahl wants to, quote, take away our right to abortion and contraception. That's true. Ganahl is a vocal opponent of the Reproductive Health Equity Act, the law passed by Democrats this year, which says, quote, every individual has a fundamental right to use or refuse contraception, and every pregnant individual has a fundamental right to continue the pregnancy and give birth or to have an abortion. Here's Ganahl on that back in April.
And I will protect the unborn. And what's happening in the legislature in Colorado right now is abhorrent. It has to stop. If that bill comes to my desk, I will do one thing with it. It's disgusting, and it will not happen on my watch as governor.
This is where Ganahl's claim and Polis's claim need context. Ganahl would not be able to rip up laws as governor. She would need a Republican legislature to bring her a bill to strip away the rights guaranteed under the Reproductive Health Equity Act, or she'd need a citizen-led ballot initiative to do the same. Ganahl is now saying she'd like it to go up for a statewide vote. Polis's claim is careful to say that Ganahl wants to take away the right to abortion and contraception, which is true. He doesn't claim she wants to ban either. Ganahl has not talked about banning contraception. And while Ganahl opposes the vast majority of abortions, with exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother, she has said more recently that she wants abortion restrictions voted on statewide. If Ganahl succeeded in rolling back the state right to abortion and contraception, under current Supreme Court precedent, Colorado could restrict contraceptive access, but not ban it. Bottom line, Ganahl does want to undo the Colorado law creating a state right to abortion and contraception, but both Ganahl and Polis make it sound easier to do than it would be in reality.
You will soon decide if every kid in Colorado should have a free lunch. Free, as in paid for, by the taxpayers who earn the most in our state. Right now, only the students most in need get a taxpayer-paid lunch. Politics guy Marshall Zellinger explains Proposition FF.
Breakfast and lunch are served at school for free for those from families in need. A yes vote on Proposition FF means free school meals in public schools for everyone, paid for by increased taxes on those with $300,000 or more in federal adjusted gross income. A no vote means there is no new program, students in need still qualify, and there is no change to taxes for those making more than $300,000. Public schools offer free and reduced lunches based on household size and family income. About 40% of K-12 students qualify for free meals based on this chart. For a family of 4, the student qualifies for a free meal if the family income is less than $36,000, and a reduced price meal if the family income is less than $51,000. This becomes obsolete if Proposition FF passes because school meals would be free for anyone regardless of need. FF requires school districts to maximize federal reimbursements by applying for certain federal grants. The difference would be paid by the state from increased taxes on those making more than $300,000. Colorado taxpayers making more than $300,000 would be required to add back federal deductions when determining their state taxable income. Single filers could only deduct up to $12,000, joint filers no more than $16,000. FF would also provide school districts grant money to buy locally grown food, increase wages for cafeteria staff, and grants to help train staff to prepare school meals with basic ingredients and minimal processed products. This was put on the ballot by state lawmakers. Democrats in favor, with just a handful of Republicans also voting yes, 5 total. You would know that FF was put on the ballot by state lawmakers because we've gone over the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s of Colorado ballots. Double letters mean state lawmakers refer the issue to voters, just like Proposition GG. This information table is what you're voting on with Proposition GG. When filled out, it will look close to, but not exactly like this one that's currently in your state blue book explaining Proposition 121. It's a table that explains how a state income tax change would impact you based on your income. A yes vote on Proposition GG means you want a table like that printed directly on your ballot along with the income tax issue you're voting on. Yes also means that this table would appear on petitions where voters sign to get an income tax issue on the ballot ballot in the first place. A no vote means this would not appear on your ballot or signature petitions, but a similar version would continue to appear in your blue book. If GG passes, a table like this would be directly on your ballot next to any state income tax question that gets petitioned onto the ballot, like Proposition 121 this year. If GG were already in law, 121 would also have this table directly on your ballot. It would include 8 different income levels, the amount of income tax you currently owe, the amount you would owe if the ballot issue passed, and how much more or less you would owe in total. That was kind of neat. GG would only apply to citizen-initiated ballot issues, meaning the ones that get put on by petitions. If lawmakers put an income tax question on the ballot, that table would not be required to show up. One argument for, it puts it right there on your ballot so you don't have to look at the blue book like the nerd I am. And an argument against is, it could make your ballot longer, as you saw in that graphic, and if it adds pages to ballots, that could increase printing costs for county clerks.
And on this one, you've got Democrats who like the idea of putting the tax table on there so that people can see how much of the benefit goes to the wealthy. And the conservatives who have made the ballot really long with all of the table language are like, no. People don't need to see exactly how it goes down like that.
Right. Tax questions have to shout at you, and it's in nonsensical language, and this is the way to kind of combat that, I guess.
Interesting. It's hysterical how it's like more information until that information. No. All right, Marshall, thank you. A mother accused of plotting a kidnapping with fellow QAnon conspiracy theorists is going to get 2 months in jail and then probation, where her attorneys and prosecutors both hope that she can get some mental health help. Cynthia Absug was found guilty on multiple charges earlier this year, including felony conspiracy to commit kidnapping. She was trying to pull her son out of the foster care system. Absug had falsely claimed that her son was terminally ill, put him through needless and sometimes risky medical treatments. Then she became this cause celeb in far-right circles when she was charged with the kidnapping plot linked to QAnon. At trial, she denied being a member of QAnon, which is the conspiracy theory that claims that a cabal of satanic Democrats are drinking the blood of children. Absug's son has spent the last 3.5 years in foster care while all this went on. In court today, prosecutors said he's doing well.
Safeway's parent company is offloading billions of dollars as it gets ready to merge with King Soopers. Colorado's top business regulator says he's not sure if he's going to get involved. The night shift can be tough.
It's brutal, it's challenging.
Even more so when we set the clocks back this weekend. That's next.
Colorado's Democratic Attorney General Phil Weiser says he is concerned about the proposed merger between the parent companies of King Soopers and Safeway, but Weiser tells us he's just not sure how or if he can do anything about it. This week, Washington State's Attorney General filed a lawsuit against Albertsons, parent company Safeway. That AG wants a judge to stop a $4 billion payout that Albertsons is promising its shareholders as part of the merger. The AG argues that the payout is a way for Albertsons to get rid of its liquid assets, essentially making it a non-competitive business before federal regulators have a chance to review the deal. Here in Colorado, AG Weiser tells us the payout concerns him, but it might not be illegal. The proposed supermarket merger in general came up in our recent debate between Weiser and his Republican opponent, John Kellner.
So anytime you see something like this happening where you've got two large companies merging, you've got to be concerned about potentially losing some competition in the marketplace.
As for this merger, I do worry for consumers, for workers, and for competitors.
Whoever becomes Colorado's Attorney General is expected to have a prominent voice on this deal as it moves forward. Kroger-owned King Soopers, Albertsons-owned Safeway, they're two of Colorado's largest grocery chains. Local unions here in town representing store employees say that the merger would be devastating for employees, and customers would see a monopoly driving up prices.
Well, the snow continues for much of the state, and starting to see some of that heavier snow move its way here into the Denver area after a bit of a longer wait this afternoon to get some of that snowfall. It is coming down pretty heavily, especially now on the east side of Denver. It looks like, I would say, Central Park on down into Aurora, especially the west side of Aurora, seeing some of that heavy snow right now, pushing its way north and east towards the airport, into the mountains, though. This is where the heaviest snow has been with us all day long. The San Juans, the Sangre de Cristos, somebody in here are going to come in with 2 feet worth of snowfall in southwest southwest Colorado before all is said and done. Speaking of all said and done, we got to wait a few more hours until the snow clears on up. Denver area, probably the heaviest will be between about now and 9 p.m. tonight. Could see some slick roads out there, especially west and south of the city. But then by tomorrow morning, early tomorrow morning, that snow clears on up. And by about 10, 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, we're going to be seeing sunshine here in the Denver area. But a closer look in here again one more time. We do expect maybe a slushy inch or two of accumulation in town, maybe some 4 or 5 inch accumulations above 7,000 feet west and south of Denver before, again, things wrap on up later on tonight.
They have a high-pressure job, and once a year, it's especially tough.
And once a year, at 2 a.m., we turn the clocks back and we relive that 2 a.m. hour.
Nurses get a nice surprise as they brace for a particularly long weekend ahead. Next.
So this weekend, I get to try and convince a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old to sleep in an extra hour when we set the clocks back. That won't work. They'll just be up in the dark. But it is nothing like what nurses experience as they work a tough overnight shift and put in an extra hour. So you know, it is kind of nice what happened today.
Nursing is very demanding.
Nurses work so hard.
Nurses have a hard job, but they're hard workers.
I'm Jennifer Harlan. I'm the nurse manager for the cardiac unit.
I am Monica Weiniger. I take care of the nurses in the ICU so they can do their best work taking care of the patients there.
This weekend is daylight savings time.
We fall back that extra hour.
For nurses and anyone else that does shift work, it means an extra hour of work, which can be a very long night.
It's brutal, it's challenging.
Their shift goes from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And once a year, at 2 a.m., we turn the clocks back and we relive that 2 a.m. hour. So what's normally a 12-hour shift now becomes a 13-hour shift.
I wanted to say thank you. And, you know, our deep appreciation for the great work that they do. We're bringing care boxes to the night shift nurses. Some goodies, yes. Yes. Just wanted to say thank you for all the great work you guys do.
I think it's really awesome.
I think it's great. I think people do tend to forget about there are a lot of people in this world that work overnight to keep the world running for the rest of us, and I think we all get so excited about daylight savings time and an extra hour of sleep that it's nice. There are groups out there that realize there are a lot of people that are putting in that extra hour to care for family and loved ones.
Just a token of our appreciation and gratitude. Hopefully that gives them just a little relief, a little respite from that long night, an additional hour that they're working.
As you're grateful for your extra hour of sleep, maybe take a moment of gratitude for all those folks as well.
Get your ballot in. See you next time.